I am so excited for you to hear from this guest today. We're going to be talking all about yummy food, knee arthritis, adventures, traveling. So, if any of those pique your interest, I am so excited for you to meet this guest. She is a best-selling author of an amazing cookbook and is a blogger, is a traveler, is an adventurer. And so, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Miss Teri Turner, who I met via Instagram, and then she sent me her lovely cookbook, and now we're having a conversation. And so, Teri, if you just want to give us and the listeners a little bit of a background on how you got interested in food, and then we'll dive into some osteoarthritis related things. But if you just want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you. My name is Teri Turner, and I'm dropping my phone. Teri Turner, and I am a blogger. For most assuredly, I'm a person that loves to eat. And it is really how I got started on blogging was just that I've been a lifelong passionate foodie, and I love all of the places that it has taken me. And so I was an event producer. My kids were nearly out of the house, and I was like ready for another chapter for myself. And this all came about, because I do now what I've always done, which is to share recipes with friends. And, people would come to me like, what am I going to make for this event? Or what would be great if you're going to have a party, or I need a dish to bring to a new mom. And so it's just that I do what I've always done, but I get to share it with a larger platform. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm No Crumbs Left on Insta, on Pinterest, on Facebook. And, I've got a blog, a podcast, and a weekly newsletter. So we're busy for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And I also see you posting on Instagram all sorts of adventures and travels. So where have you just recently gone?
We took I recently turned 60, and we took a month and we went to Italy. So it's just,
Amazing.
yeah. And you figure, if you're not doing it at 60, when are you going to do it? And we were like, better now than later. So we went for a month, and we rented a house in Tuscany, and we were in Rome for a week. And it was a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness, that's so awesome. We're actually going to Venice in January.
Oh my gosh, I love
So
that.
so yes, that is we're definitely looking forward to that. But then you also do or have been experiencing some symptoms related to knee osteoarthritis. Is that correct?
That is correct. So a year ago, I basically tore my meniscus. And, I went from a person who was like actively walking my 10,000 steps a day to, being really injured, and initially not even knowing what it was. So
Yeah.
I turned out that I have some osteoarthritis, that I have a torn meniscus. And it's been a real journey, because a year ago I could not walk, 1,000 steps. And by the way, I did this without having surgery, because in doing the research, it
Sure.
was like, I am as likely to feel fabulous in a year if I have surgery or if I don't.
Yes.
And as my doctor has said, there are people that this is a great surgery for. You're not one of those people. And I think that if you do it, you're not necessarily going to feel better. And I really like what I do, and I don't like when people come to me and say, yeah, you're not going to feel better. So from that place, I really, I started a journey of so many, it was in many ways the gift, because it sent me on a journey to a lot of amazing places that I wouldn't have gone. PT being one of them, PT 4 times a week, and then doing my own, exercises and things at home.
Yeah.
And that was incredible. And I, along the way, other things too, from diet and exercise to red light, and, and not working as much. So I think when you have an injury, it really takes you to hopefully really assess your life and saying, this is an opportunity to what am I doing that's helping me, and what am I doing that's hurting me, and how can I slow down my life enough to, make myself a priority and work on my own healing.
Yes, and I think that's a really that's a really important point, because sometimes it takes feeling pain or something happening, an injury, to look back and say, I haven't been giving myself enough time, or I haven't been paying attention enough to this. And then it opens your eyes to a lot of different things, a lot of healthier habits, and a lot of reevaluating a lot of things, which I think can be really beneficial. And sometimes it does take that, experiencing pain or something like that. For your meniscus, was it an injury related injury, or was it injury related, or was it just from like a degeneration?
It was just, like
Okay.
in many ways, a repetitive motion injury. It was just, was going to give out eventually. I took a beautiful walk. I went to bed that night and I was like, oh, I feel so great. And when I woke up, I was like, I'm really, really stiff today. I just cannot believe. But what I didn't realize is I'm actually injured. And and I tried a lot of things which didn't help because I was like kind of afraid to go to the doctor. And
Yes.
then, one night I took a step that was unbelievably painful. And, I really didn't think I could walk. And it was really a crisis, which led me to going to the doctor. Now, here's the greatest part: the doctor didn't do an MRI and misdiagnosed me, but I started PT anyway. He said, "Oh, I think it's a bursitis and, you're going to be fine," and all that. So I started PT, but then, there was a period where it's like, I'm really in pain and I'm really not getting better. So it's possible that it may be something else. And that's where I discovered about the meniscus and about, the arthritis and all of that.
Yes, and meniscus, those can be a little bit tricky just because you can heal those without surgery, but it
Yeah.
can be pretty painful. And so it's finding the movements that feel good, building up that good muscle support, taking care of the inflammation. All of those things can add up into healing yourself. And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
now, how are you feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling so much better. My son is here visiting me, who's 29, and he was like, "Mom, I can't believe how much better you are." That you were in a place you couldn't even take a walk with us when we did, and now you're really in such a different place. And I would say it was not just one thing, right?
Yeah.
I really got on the turmeric bandwagon. My very traditional doctor was like, I want you to get on turmeric long term. You got to take it every day, like clockwork, 2 or 3 times a day. You can't miss a day. And it's going to take a few months to really, to really kick in.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that, and that has really, really helped me quite a lot. The other thing is I got myself a full panel red light.
Okay.
I have red light therapy. So I have a friend who lives in London. And when I was going through all of this, she said, I have a couple of suggestions for you. And she said, by the way, this is going to be an expensive conversation. So she said, I have a full panel red light and I really think it'll make a difference for you. So I ordered a small one just to see what I thought, to see, does this help at all? And it's great for spot treating my knee, great for arthritis. It's great for inflammation. I knew there was enough there that I was going to get the bigger one, and I got it. And it's like for inflammation, it's been unbelievably helpful. And I just do it every single day, and it helps with inflammation all over the body. So I would say the turmeric, the red light, and also, just being, and I've been a mindful eater. I think, my book is Whole30 endorsed. So it's a paleo kind of like sort of eating where you're having less grains and gluten-free and all of that. And it's not a diet as much as it's a 30-day reset,
Sure.
so you can start to say, oh, well, what foods do I react to? You eliminate a whole lot of things. So you're dairy free, alcohol free, grain free, gluten free, and preservative free, sweetener of any kind free for 30 days. And then you start to add things back in. As a result of all this, because I've done a number of Whole30s, have been gluten free for, maybe 6, 7 years.
Okay.
And that's super helpful, I think, also. But I think, there's just a lot that can be done with sort of like, the reality is when we're eating greens and blueberries, we feel better than when we're eating high fructose corn syrup. It's just,
Exactly.
it is what it is, right?
Yes.
Um, so, I've played with diet, and, some of this has been doing a longer Whole30, and some of it's been intermittent fasting, because in my research, one of the things that I really learned was losing weight is one of the things that can help the most. I don't,
Yeah.
and the statistic, it's like 1 pound on the equivalent of on your knee is like 4 pounds. So if you lose 1 pound, it's like losing 4 pounds of pressure on your knee.
Yes, it's definitely exponential. Yeah.
So there was a doctor speaking about, surgeries and whether to do them, but he was like the number one thing that he felt like people could do was to lose weight. So I thought, I'm really going to try to lose, 15 pounds and see how that helps. And of course it helps. It's just, it's been amazing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you just feel better all around, and you're just
Oh,
maybe more
yes.
motivated to exercise and to do those sorts of healthy behaviors that we need to. And weight loss can absolutely help to kickstart that. And I do want to talk briefly about Whole30 and then paleo. You mentioned a little bit. So
Yep.
Whole30 is just a way of eating, like you just said, a 30-day reset for those of you that don't know, where, like Teri just mentioned, you cut out these things for 30 days. So getting some consistency, and then you can start reintroducing them depending on after those 30 days, how you want to reintroduce those. So Teri's book is let me unblur for the people that are watching. Teri's book is called No Crumbles Left.
No
Here we go.
crumbs left.
No
Yeah.
crumbs left. Okay.
Yeah.
No crumbs left. So you can see it here. And it's Whole30 induced. So it gives, because one of the things that I've done some research into Whole30 before, and one of the things is you may see that it can be really hard to find things to eat. You're cutting out all of these things. So this book is like chock full of all sorts of recipes and things. And I want to just talk about paleo really quick. So if you don't know what paleo is, how would you describe that to someone?
So I am more informed on what Whole30 is,
Okay.
but how paleo is different is very similar. Is you are eating things like salads, fruits, vegetables, protein, but you're not having grains. You're not having gluten, and you're not having sugar, except where you can have, like, let's say, coconut sugar.
Sure. So it's not as
So
strict as
it's not
Whole30
as
is.
strict as Whole30, and it's more of a lifestyle, by the way. There are many,
Right.
many people that eat 80%, and here's 80% that way. And here's the thing about being on Whole30. The nice thing about my book is I'm a good cook and it's delicious food. You wouldn't even know by eating my delicious food that it's Whole30,
Yes.
just because I understand how to take a recipe and make it healthy and delicious. And to the extent that things can be healthy and delicious, because delicious is the key word.
Exactly.
And I forgot what I was going to say there. So it went.
It's okay. It's okay. We're talking about paleo. And I think that it's interesting because it kind of follows the same thing as like a Mediterranean diet. I would imagine that they're fairly parallel. There may be some discrepancies, but that is what is promoted and what is really encouraged when people are dealing with, especially something like osteoarthritis, chronic joint pain, stiffness, inflammation. That way of eating, of just simply eating more natural things, really. I mean,
Right.
fruits, vegetables, like the things that are good for you. But it can be interesting because I think what this book really opened up was that there are so many options. So if you're
Yes.
feeling like I want to eat healthy, I want to do this, I want to, be stricter, but I don't know what to eat. I'm sick of eating like just bland chicken and rice, or bland chicken and broccoli or something. There are so many things. And I think one of the things that's interesting is salad dressing. People are like, oh yeah, I eat salads. And then I think you said in here, don't make it like it's not a ocean or
Swimming.
something.
Yeah, it's not a swimming pool. A salad is
Yeah,
not a
swimming
swimming
pool, yes.
pool.
That you don't want to drown it. But you also have some recipes on how to actually make your own salad dressings that
Yes.
actually aren't that difficult. And you don't really need, like, I think some of the things is like you need all these weird ingredients. Like a lot of the recipes I look up, it's like, oh, you need all these special things. But really it's just things that you may have in your house, or things that you can use for multiple different things, which I
Yes.
think is really important, because it can get really kind of bland if you're just trying to eat healthy but don't really have any direction, just make chicken and vegetables all the time.
There are so many. That's what I was going to say earlier that I forgot. There are so many wonderful things to eat. So when people say, well, what can I eat? I mean, beautiful soups, beautiful salads, stir fries, so many wonderful vegetables and fruits. So there's so much that you can eat. There's an incredible amount. And you want to change your cooking up. Magic elixirs are shortcuts to deliciousness. So they are things like my pistachio pesto, my marinated onions, my smoky pepitas, all of these things that just make everyday food more delicious. So if you're having roast chicken, you can take some of the pistachio pesto and you can put it on. If you're having your greens, don't forget to salt them, because salting greens is really important, and put my marinated onions and that wonderful dressing on it. There are so many great, easy ways to cook. I mean, tips like, if you're doing chicken, do bone on, skin on, because you're going to get a lot more flavor if you do that. It's just these
Okay.
little tips in the kitchen. When you want a crunchy, lovely potato, you cook it twice. You can boil it once, par cook it, and then finish it in the oven. And that's how you get, like with olive oil or with duck fat. And that's how you get a crusty, browned, beautiful potato.
Interesting, interesting. What would you say is your go-to recipe? Like, what do you find yourself making the most?
I would say for me, it goes like this: a stir fry. Okay. And then here's one thing about stir fry: don't cook all your vegetables together, because they're not going to be delicious and you're going to steam them all. So, I make myself up a stir fry kit on a Thursday. So it's like I chop my onion and my garlic, and let's say I have ginger and broccolini and red pepper, and, maybe I'm going to do skirt steak. And then what I do is just, prepare it, put in my coconut aminos, samir and rice wine, and, it's going to be delicious. So I would say these are my basics: my salads, my soups, or my stir fries. That's just the bedrock of what I eat all of the time. And to me, they're just, they're great for meal prep, because you can do it ahead and then just put it together. Like, I go to Michigan every weekend, and I live in Chicago. And on the Thursday, I'll put together one of my Whole30 Sunday salad, and I'll put together the different parts. So it's the blanched green beans are here, and the pepperoncini are here, and the greens, and I make my citrus chive dressing, and then I have it. And then what I can do the next day for lunch, I can just throw it all together and toss it and have it. We can have a side salad on Friday night with dinner. So those things I think are really help, and they make cooking more delightful. And when you cook, if you cook smart, so it's like, if I'm, doing butternut squash rings with, let's say, sauteed beef and mushrooms, make extra butternut squash rings that you roast, so that you can have extra. When you do that, also do some butternut squash croutons, make little croutons, olive oil, salt, and pepper, roast them, and then just leave them out that day, even the next day. And you can just add a few, and you have a lovely, healthy carbohydrate that's going to, take you through the day. So it's just like, what I tell people is to cook smart. Do your magic elixers twice a week, so you always have that shortcut in the refrigerator to deliciousness. When you make dinner, take a portion and put it aside for lunch the next day. Just get it right in the fridge. Just think about cooking smart, so that you can, enjoy more time doing the things that you love to do.
And I think that convenience is one of the things that holds a lot of people back from especially eating, fresher meals, not having to cook all the time. Time is a constraint too. And so, I mean, just planning ahead can really also take the thinking out of it. You have to think about it. It's already there, and you have one option, and that's it.
Yeah.
And especially when they taste good, I mean, that can be really, really helpful, because consistency is the hardest part. And consistency is the thing that people have the hardest part, or the hardest time doing, is being consistent. Oh, I can do this meal prep for maybe 1 week, and then, start to fall off the wagon. What is maybe, aside from cooking smart, do you have another tip on how to make cooking perhaps a little easier, or less, I guess, taking less time?
I mean, part of it is you're going to eat the rest of your life. So I think if you change the attitude to, what a glorious way to love and appreciate myself. I mean, you're going to spend the rest of your life cooking. So why not really embrace it? Take time to get to know your growers, your farmers. Think of it as a spectacular adventure that you get to eat something that's very delicious every day. So I think partially it's like, take the resistance off it being this arduous task, and think of it as this extraordinarily fantastic adventure that you're going to be a part of, for the remainder of your life. And something delicious comes out of it every single time. So I would say embrace it. Cooking real food, it does something to your soul. It heals you. And being a part of a food community and knowing your farmers and growers, it makes your life better. So I would say embrace it.
Yeah, and how would you say you could get to know some of those farmers and growers for listeners around them?
Um, First of all, go to your local farmer's market or farm stand. In every town, there's a farmer, and really get to know those. So in Chicago, we have the Green City Market, Mondays, I mean, Wednesdays, Saturdays, I think Thursdays. In Michigan, when I'm up there, there's wonderful farms there. So go and talk to them, ask them how to cook things, try new things that you've never tried. Don't be locked into just eating the same thing all of the time. And the farmers and growers know so much more than anybody about it. I go to my fish shop. I mean, I've gone to my fish shop at Dirk's for 20 years. I've been his customer. So Dirk can tell me how to really get a great quick meal on what's the right kind of fish, why is, wild better than farm, why it's important to wash your fish before you have it. So is there a bread person in your neighborhood? Go to the bread shop, find out the person's name, find out, where did they get their starter, their sourdough starter. So it's actually so much fun. If there's a chocolatier, go in and learn about them. It makes eating and cooking so much more fun when you are part of the process. My favorite farmer, Froggy, who does onions, and he does onions every year. He now does a special onion that he does because I love them. And he came and it's like, I want my onions for the winter, and he dropped off my onions. And, I showed him how I'd been storing them. And so this year we're trying a new storage method because like, oh, they didn't, the last couple of years, it didn't store like I wanted it to. So it's always an adventure. And I'm not tied into the outcome, because the outcome can be very different each time, and the outcome sometimes means failure. I mean, that's the thing about cooking. It sometimes means failure, but you got to just keep moving, because the way to get to a great recipe is sometimes to start with a bad recipe. We're doing meatballs today. We're doing 3 different kinds. I'm doing a version with breadcrumbs. I'm doing gluten-free for me. I'm doing a version with egg. I'm doing a version where we're putting onion and garlic. One is more like parsley, and we're doing kind of a cleaner, fresher feel with ricotta. So for me, I love that process, and you don't have to dive into that, But the other thing is that there's the convenience things. I love a Greek salad. Very easy to do a Greek salad. Get a really high quality sheep's milk feta. Get a hummus. I go to the Middle Eastern store where I've been shopping for 20 years. They do the best hummus, the best baba ganoush. They have amazing olives. So that's a convenience one. On a Friday night, if I'm having people over, do an extraordinarily lovely big Greek salad, plenty of greens, do the baba ganoush, the feta, get the tzatziki, the olives, the whole thing. And if you want to roast some skin on chicken breast, skin on bone on chicken breast to serve with that, you can put together that kind of Greek salad in no time at all. Someone contacted me yesterday and said, I'm going to a celebration of life. What should I bring? People are going to be out, and they're going to be hungry. And I'm like, do my corn souffle. Now, you're not doing corn souffle because it's healthy, by the way. It comes from a box mix, and I used a gluten-free one. But you're going to do it. You're going to put it all together. It's going to be a very soulful, lovely dish, and people are going to feel good. And sometimes soul food, which might not even be healthy, also is healing, for the right occasion when people are gathering. And it's like, that's kind of a lovely to have a beautiful carbohydrate. So, all of that to me makes the adventure of cooking, fun. And I think you do this too with arthritis. I mean, you do this where you're finding exercises and ways for people to get engaged and things to try and to inspire people. And I mean, a lot of people probably say, oh, how do you fit in that time for PT? It's just like, how do you fit it in? But just like I know with cooking, that it's important, right?
And making it a priority, I mean, is of the utmost importance, especially moving into longevity. Like, if you want to live a long, healthy life, it's so important to prioritize these things and make it fun and make it simple too. It doesn't always have to be complicated. I think both in movement and food, sometimes we just try to overcomplicate things. And I have people message me all the time, and it's like, I didn't really realize how simple it was, that I just
Yeah.
had to do, a couple of things. You don't have to do the whole, a whole 60-minute workout all the time. Just doing little things. And same thing with food. It doesn't always have to be this huge feast. Just these little things can be really helpful. Just starting to make your own salad dressing, or just starting to add a little more vegetables, or trying to cook vegetables in a different way, whatever it is. But just making these small changes, I think, can really start to add up to that consistency, which is then going to be the most important to control inflammation and just to make you feel good.
Yeah, and the truth is, when I'm eating greens and I'm eating blueberries and I'm eating foods, that are great for me and that help control inflammation. And I'm really picking out of the food group where I'm really making a conscious decision to mostly not eat things that come from that category. Now, here's the thing. I'm definitely going to have a gluten-free sandwich once a week, and I'm going to have gluten-free pasta once a week. And that's fine. But it's like, I don't want to make it an everyday occurrence because I'm going to feel that inflammation. And if I do, but I also think it's really important not to totally deprive yourself, because then people go the other direction.
Yes. I agree. And I mean, anything in moderation is okay. And same thing with movement. Take a rest day every now and then. You don't have to be perfect. And I think a lot of times people strive for perfection. And it's really just being okay with not being perfect all the time. And knowing that, okay, I may have a little more stiffness today. That's because I ate this, or maybe I didn't move as much as I usually do. Okay, this is just temporary. Let's turn this around and let's do those habits today. And it's just kind of understanding the why and understanding, having these tools to say, okay, I'm not feeling the greatest today. Maybe I should actually look at what I'm eating. Maybe I should try to prioritize some vegetables or some protein today, or prioritize just a little bit of movement. Taking the step in that direction makes it seem a lot less cumbersome and a little more simple, which is what we want. We want things to feel simple, because then that means that's going to build those long-term habits, because you're going to be eating for the rest of your life. You're going to be moving for the rest of your life, or should be. So it's important to start building these habits now, no matter if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, wherever you're at, there's not too late to turn those things around. And so when it comes to dealing with arthritis, wanting to travel, wanting to adventure, talking about food, what is one thing that the listener or someone watching on YouTube should know? Or what is one thing that you would want to tell them?
Well, I think I've said, a lot of it. I mean, certainly, the red light, turmeric, losing weight. I mean, one thing that I think's really helped me in this process was, and I don't like, I think this is great for someone who's my age. I don't know that it's great for someone, who's a nursing mother, was that I ended up starting intermittent fasting. This summer I got COVID. I was like, I'm going to Italy in the fall. I want to weigh less than I do. I want to be able to walk, and I'm concerned about getting there and not being able to do. So I was like, I really want to lose weight. And so I was like, I'm going to start intermittent fasting. I'm going to do it for 2 months, and I'm going to see where it takes me. And it's really been great for me. I feel like it's reduced, arthritis. My energy is up, definitely lost weight, which had been really hard for me to do. Just feeling really like I'm living my best life, and it's enabled me to exercise more, walk more, feel great, and not be in pain. So that's just something. I have no skin in the game that people do it. I know that for me, it really, really helped me. And I think the thing is, we have to be seekers. We have to be our own advocates. Nobody's going to do all this for you. And it's overwhelming. And when you don't feel well, you kind of just don't want to. But I knew that I had to really prioritize my own health and take care of myself, and go on a journey where I was really willing to try different things that may or may not be helpful, to see what did help me. And then base, on that, just sort of create my own rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot of trial and error. What is your feeding? So for intermittent fasting, it's usually eating for a certain period of time and then not eating for a certain period of time. And there's varying schedules of different periods, like a 16-hour fast or an 8-hour fast, whatever it is. I do have a podcast episode with Cynthia Thurlow on intermittent fasting, if you do want to learn more about that. But what is your go-to schedule? What do you typically follow when you are intermittent fasting?
Well, you're going to love this. I make my schedule around my life, because having a joyful life is what's most important to me.
Sure.
So my my typical fast is 16 hours. But
Okay.
it could be that, for some reason I'd go to dinner tonight, and we were in Italy and we were going to lunch the next day. So what I do is I set my timer when I'm done eating, and my goal is to make it to 16 hours. I mostly have every day since July 1st. When I was in Italy, I was like, let me make my goal more like 12, 13, 14 hours because I don't want to get on vacation and fail or have other people feel like, oh my God, she's making us crazy. So I varied it a little, but this was a great thing. I went to Italy, I ate a lot of everything and I didn't gain any weight. So I was like, that is a success. So instead of just doing every day, I stop at this time, I don't do it like that. Sometimes I finish eating at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I'm a blogger. I'm in the kitchen. We're cooking all day. But on Friday nights, I'll go out to dinner with my boyfriend and we don't stop eating until 8 o'clock. So I don't get crazy. I say, let your life be joyful and then let everything be led from that place. And the great thing is it's different every day, but I set my timer and I used to just use my stopwatch. I recently got this app called Zero. It's actually been really helpful because it tracks, it does all your data. So I can look back and say, oh, in the last 3 weeks, this is how many fasting hours I had. It seems like it's going to be hard. But at first I was like, let me just do it for 12 hours. I can't do anything for 12 hours. Then I was like, this is working. I'm going to go up to 13. Then it was like, oh, this is fine. It's going to go up to 14. But if I was doing it one day and I was like, I'm only going to do 14 today because legitimately I don't want to do it anymore today, then I would, just like, don't let it be something that is a chore. Just say, is this giving me a better life? And go from that place.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, flexibility is key, especially with things like that. I mean, I typically do like a 12-hour, 13-hour fast. We usually don't eat till probably 10 or 11 just because I'm busy in the morning and that's my most productive time. And eating just is set aside for the moment. But it does, I mean, truly, we stop eating around like 8 or 9. But again, it's lifestyle. If we're going to go out to eat, then it's, not as strict and it's just whenever I feel hungry. And so that's definitely an option. I know that it's worked for a lot of people, especially if you're wondering, where to turn. You've been trying to eat healthy, but just things aren't changing. It's okay, looking at things, okay, what I'm currently doing is not working. How can I change it? How can I try something else? And having these options of potentially, trying Whole30, trying paleo, or trying intermittent fasting. I mean, the whole goal of this podcast and what I'm trying to show is that there are options. There's options for movement. There's options for food. There's options for all of these things. There's not one specific thing that works for everyone, eating this way and doing this, but it's getting your eating under control, getting your movement under control, and really just dialing those in to thrive without pain and to plateau your symptoms.
Yeah, one of the things is that I noticed, like for me, I'm just like, I want to be making healthy choices. You can do Whole30 and you can eat sausage and bacon every day, but I've said to myself, that's not the way I want to do a Whole30. That doesn't feel right to me. So even in intermittent fasting, some people are like, I just eat whatever I want during the eating time. I always want to be going, is this the best choice for me? And I want to feel my best. And the truth is, when I'm eating certain ways, I don't feel my best. So it's been fun to say, oh, I'm going to just be a conscious person on the planet, making good choices for myself, having this period of fasting, and just my body feels much better and I have a lot more energy, and it's really helped my arthritis.
Yeah.
I don't think losing the weight hurt anyway, by the way. I think that also helped definitely with pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and for having this conversation. Now, your book is No Crumbs Left. So if you do want to get Teri's
Yes.
cookbook, I believe, where can they get it?
You can order it from Amazon. Local bookstore is always the best.
Okay,
Come find
yes.
me on Instagram. That's where we're having the most fun. Like we are on your page. I love your page. I love when like we see your grandma and all that. So definitely come find me because we have a lot of great adventures, summer food and, summer life and summer, everything else.
Yes, that's awesome. And I will put the link to follow her on Instagram and then the link to her book as well. Thank you again. This has been so amazing. And if you resonate with anything Teri said, please go check her out on Instagram, get inside her book, start cooking some of her wonderful recipes, and enjoy your life. Move and use food as an adventure. I love that. We are all about adventures. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.